Okay, so welcome to today's webinar, an opportunity to explore the Voice Stream apps and meet their founder and developer. This webinar is hosted by the Network of Assistive Technologists on this Friday, the 26th of February, 2021. Please join me in welcoming today's presenter, Winston Chen. Winston is VoiceStream, the developer of VoiceStream Reader, Writer, and Scanner, masterful and universally accessible award-winning apps that support users with a wide variety of disabilities. Having worked as an executive for several technology companies and a research affiliate at MIT, Winston continues his work with socially beneficial technology through the VoiceStream suite of apps. Back in 2011, Winston and his family ventured to the Arctic Circle for a year sabbatical. This is where VoiceStream began. I'm going to leave the details to Winston in order for him to share as he conveys the story of what started as a hobby and has quickly turned into a full-blown obsession. So welcome, Winston, and thank you for joining us today. And with that said, I'm going to now hand the screen sharing over to Winston as he begins his presentation.
Thanks so much, and thank you so much for inviting me. I'm just gonna show video here to show you know what I look like, and I'll quickly turn over to PowerPoint and we'll start our presentation. Let me share that. Okay. Right. I'm gonna start and take a few minutes to tell you about the story of how VoiceStream as a company was founded and how this whole thing started. You know, Doug mentioned that when I took a sabbatical to an island in Norway, and then what you're seeing here in this picture, this is the picture of the island. It's just north of the Arctic Circle. It's got a population of 180. And you have to take a boat to take a ferry to come on and off the island. We, you know, back when I was back in the time, it was around 10 years ago. I was sort of feeling a little disillusioned about my work, and just wanted to take some time off to have some fun, but also to think about what I would do next. We arrived in the island in the summer, although this is probably September. When the picture was taken, it's really a beautiful place. We spent a lot of time exploring around. This is my daughter, and I also had a son. Both were fairly young. We collected a lot of berries. These are all the berries that are collected just from around the house that we rented for the year. And also did a lot of fishing. These are fertile fishing grounds, you know, a lot of cod. This is a huge pollock. So I spend, you know, a good deal of the summer and fall really just, you know, being outdoors, having a lot of fun. But when winter came, you know, I heard about the Arctic winter, but, you know, nothing really prepared me for it. When everything was so dark. The only consolation is that once in a while you do see the beautiful northern lights like this, but for the most part it's dark. The sky gets light around 10 a.m. and everything becomes pitch dark at around 2:30. So I, you know, I became housebound and had to figure out something to keep myself busy. So I decided to pick up, you know, the writing code again. Had been a long time since I last touched programming. And I decided I'm just going to write myself an app. Back in those days, iPhones and I don't think iPads were available. No, iPads were available, just came out. And we were just starting to feel that mobile phones are going to be ubiquitous. So I wanted to see what it's all about, writing an app. And the app that I would write, the choice was almost arbitrary. I wanted to write anything just to understand what the space is all about. So I decided to write a simple app that would read stuff out loud for you. And I wrote it mostly for myself. I thought I always have more reading than I had time to do. So wouldn't it be nice if this mobile phone in your hand can read text out loud for you? and you will be able to read when you're walking around, when you're in the gym, when you're driving. So as a productivity tool. So I spent about a couple of months writing the app. It was very simple. I feature-wise, it's almost, it's almost laughable. So this is actually from the description of the app that was eventually released in the App Store February 9th. So it's right around 9 years ago. So it can read articles from online bookmarking services, Instapaper and Read It Later. So this is when there's an article you want to read, you don't have time, so you bookmark it, and then that article is saved online, and then later on you can retrieve it and read it. And it can extract text from PDF documents and text files. It had one voice, or you can copy and paste into it. But the only thing that it's eventually left in the app is the text. There's no synchronization of voice and word. It really is just almost like treating text like audio. So it went into the App Store, and I was and I thought, okay, that was fun. Maybe time to move on to do some other things. And the weather was getting warmer, and maybe there's more. There'll be more time to go fishing. But shortly after it was released, the date is wrong, but I received an email from a teacher. So he said he had a student with some sort of reading disability. He didn't even know what it was, and in retrospect, it was dyslexia. And he said the student's really smart, really good at math. This is a math teacher, but the problem is that he had trouble taking exams because he had trouble reading the text on the exam. So what he did, he somehow managed to found my app, and he would put the exam, which is a PDF document, on his iPad, and just gave his iPad to his student. And as you see here, the student loved it because it made him feel better. He felt like he was in charge. And he used to be. He said that he would take the student back to the corner of a room and read the exam out loud for his student. So now he didn't need to have a human reader. He can stop, he can replay as often as he wanted. And this is really interesting to me. It's a use of the product, this app, very simple app, that I never thought of before. In fact, I had to do some research into what this was and learned about dyslexia. I actually had no personal experience, nor do I have any friends and family who from whom I would have learned about it. So this is the first of many emails I would receive in that spring, and it gradually kind of got me obsessed about this app. I guess what was what I found gratifying is that here I created something, and someone had found a use for it that I had not intended. But more importantly, like, people who found the use for this app useful wasn't just like saved a few hours, a few minutes here and there. It really changed their lives. It changed in this case, see that with the student. I mean, it's a matter of sort of personal pride. It's a matter of feeling good about himself, in addition to just unlocking this world of text that otherwise would not be accessible. So fast forward, sort of 9 years from the time the app was released. VoiceStream now has 3 products. We have there's a VoiceStream Reader, which is the very first version of that was the one that was released in February 2012. And in addition to that, there's VoiceStream Scanner, which uses the camera of the mobile device to scan and to turn that into text for those who are sort of who knows about this industry, it's called OCR, which means optical character recognition. And also there's a voice stream writer, which is a word processor, a TTS, text to speech enabled, that helps people, particularly students with dyslexia, write and finding the right words. And it's also very useful for people who are blind, because you can navigate and easily document that you're writing very easily using VoiceOver. So these products, the reader is $19.99. It's a one-time price. There's no subscription. The scanner is $5.99, and the writer is $9.99. As you can see, these products have been well received in the App Store. And in addition to that, there is a VoiceStream suite that has all 3 apps available, and it bundles with that 2 voices, and that's can be purchased for $29.99. And by the way, these are all U.S. prices, so in Canada, it might be slightly different. They are iPhone and iPad only, and I'm working on a Mac version, and that should come out either late summer or the fall. And they're all available on Apple App Store. And you can also get a volume discount if you're an educational institution. So for 20 copies or more, you can get $50 off. You can get 50% off. Also, I guess over these years, the apps have been recognized broadly as sort of best in breed in terms of, apps, accessibility, reading and writing tools on iOS and mobile devices and tablets. Apple sort of has consistently featured the app in their app store, and I guess something I'm really proud of. The app was awarded by National Federation for the Blind, the Jacob Lawton Award. Probably it's a fairly prestigious award, and other recipients include Apple and Ray Kurzweil, the original. There was, I guess, Kurzweil is sort of VoiceStream before there was VoiceStream. And Apple Viz, which is a website frequented by people who are visually impaired, also has given all the VoiceStream maps some good accolades. So I'm gonna go through. I'm just gonna go through all 3 apps, and I'll spend more time on VoiceStream Reader, just because it's probably the most feature rich, and there's more to talk about. And I'll also touch on Scanner and Writer. So what you see here is this is the Gutenberg Bible. And since sort of the printing press was invented, how people read really hadn't changed very much. I would say until mobile devices really became popular. So in the past, reading is all about text laid out, black text laid out on white paper. And when the text overflows a line, you go to a new line, and then when the page is full, you move on to the next page. And you read with your eyes by decoding this text, generally phonetic text, and try to play out that sound in your head, and that's how you would read and comprehend. Because printing, I see it as a technology, and that is the dominant technology for reading for such a long time. It became accepted as the only way for us to read text and to consume and learn and consume information. When the tablets came about, and of course phones, now you can read, but there's other things that you couldn't do before. It's no longer just black ink on white paper. You can introduce other modes of reading, other modes to scroll through the text, other modes to let text come alive, and not just as images, but also as sound. There's a new way to interact with the text. So reading became a multimodal activity as opposed to the traditional black ink on white paper. So that's the approach that VoiceStream Reader takes when it comes to reading. So you have your traditional visual reading, has a layout, has a font, there's text size, there's text area, you can change the color, right? So this is still text, and this is still available in VoiceStream. And it's just as sophisticated in terms of how you can manipulate the settings as any other visual reader. Like an example of a visual reader would be, Apple iBooks, or Apple Preview app for reading PDF documents. But what some of the things that set it apart is that text size can be huge. And this is to accommodate people who are low vision. And there's a lot of flexibilities in changing the color, not just a color theme. And this is because for certain people with dyslexia, there's certain colors are more comfortable to read than others. Also, some of the fonts that some people with dyslexia have found to be helpful, such as Open Dyslexia, a font, is also included in the app. So all the visual reading is supported. But then you flip over to pure audio. VoiceStream Reader can actually play recorded audio, but it can also turn the text into speech using text-to-speech. You can change the voices, you can change the speed, change the pitch. If there's a pronunciation you don't like, you can correct it. So there's all the features there that support audio reading. And then, of course, you can combine the two together to have audio and visual synchronized using word highlighting, using auto scrolling. So your text is done on one page, auto scrolls to the next. There's some modes in there that enable speed reading, in that if you're reading using both visual and audio, you can actually speed things up quite a bit, oftentimes double the person's normal visual reading speed, and still retain the same amount of information. And this is some of the research that I was a part of at MIT, where they had subjects going through basic training, and after that, everyone was able to read at twice their visual reading speed, and still through testing for the content, we were able to test to conclude that they actually retain the same amount of information. And finally, there are ways to control all of this. How do you control the visuals? How do you control the audios? How do you control the combination of those two? And here you can use all the technology the accessibility technology that are available on these mobile devices, the switch, the voiceover, and newer in iOS, since iOS 13 is voice commands. You can use voice to navigate the product and the device. And you're also using a braille display, both as a way to read, but also as a way to control to control the device. And because of all these features that are built in, it allows a wide, diverse range of readers able to read, and not just able to read, but actually able to read very well. And obviously, people who are blind and low vision, combining them, we call them visually impaired. They predominantly use voiceover, but a lot of low vision readers actually prefer to read by sight, but maybe when their eyes get tired a little bit, they can turn on text-to-speech, and then so they can close their eyes and rest a bit. And then, the eyes are rested, they can turn off text-to-speech and start reading using very large text visually again. And people with other, and students and adults with other forms of learning differences can all take advantage features in the app. And of course, finally, for the neurotypical people who often use the app for speed reading and the original purpose of the app, which is to be able to read as a productivity tool when you're out for a walk, when you're in the gym. Those use cases are still widely used. There's still a lot of voice stream users who use the app in that way. So since 2012, the app has been downloaded 350,000 times around the world. So it's a fairly widely used product. At any given point in time, there's probably around 10,000 users who are using the app and reading with it. And it's been 9 years, and I am continually adding new features, refining the product, making it better, and I don't see I don't see an end to that. So now I'm gonna turn to I'll give you just a quick demo of the app. I needed to show the app using AirPlay on my Mac. So if you give me a second while I set that up and turn it on. Okay. Okay. Can everybody see the screen?
Yep, your iPad is up there.
Okay, great. Okay, well, so this is Voice Stream Reader running on an iPad, and as I said, it also runs on an iPhone. So first of all, there are lots of different ways to add content. You can use the device as a scanner and to scan printed pages and books. You can load files from Google Drive or Google Apps, or sort of Google Docs and so on. You can download books from Bookshare, and I know a lot of folks in Canada now have access to Bookshare, which is a wonderful resource for students. You can download pretty much any book that you possibly want to read from Bookshare. And there are other ways to get content in from Evernote, from Pocket, from Instapaper. So lots of different places where you can get content. Supported file formats are EPUB with the Pride and Prejudice here. That's an EPUB book. Uncommon Reader, that is a DAISY 2 audio book. So it's recorded audio.
And shelves, so-called. The books were sequestered behind locked and gilded.
So this is a human-read audiobook. Supports PDF documents. Supports DAISY text-based and DAISY files as well. Word documents, rich file formats, web pages, and so on. And of course, plain text. So let me just open up Pride and Prejudice. So just like any audio program, you can push play. And
it is a truth universally acknowledged that a single man in possession of a good fortune must be in want of a wife, however little known.
So the voice that you just heard there, that's the voice of Amy. It's one of the British English voices. And that's the other part of this product, is that there are lots of voices you can choose from. You have all the voices that come with iOS on device that are free, and those are freely available. By downloading the app, you get one premium voice for so in addition to the iOS voices on the system, you get one for free. And if you're unhappy with that, you can also buy lots of different voices. So these are from 3 different text-to-speech voice companies whose voices you can purchase. So when it comes to audio, as I said, lots of different ways to, besides changing speed, lots of different ways to configure the audio. You know, some people really like to have a pause after a sentence. So you can actually listen to the text really fast, as long as you have a little pause that allows your mind to catch up a little bit, and that increases comprehension. And different ways to configure how audio seems. With visual, you also have lots of settings, and of course, font. One of the things that we learned is that spacing has a lot to do with how well, especially someone with dyslexia, can comprehend written text. So side margin is important in the sense that your eyes have less space to travel when you reach the end of a line, and you need to move over to the beginning of the next line. Line spacing and character spacing are also important. Generally, people with dyslexia prefer the spacing to be a little wider than neurotypical people. So all those ability to adjust are all there. And you can also use sort of black, white text on black, and this has shown that people who are low vision generally find the high contrast to be helpful. And then of course you can change all kinds of color of the text, color of the background. And then there's also another mode, I call it the sort of focused reading mode. So what this is that you can limit the number of text, the amount of text on the screen, so to reduce distraction. And if you start reading 2-finger tap, I'm going to do a 2-finger tap on the screen, and that is equivalent to play or pause.
However little known the feelings or views of such a man may be on his first entering a neighborhood, this truth is so well fixed in the minds of the surrounding family.
So notice that it does, it scrolls automatically and always keeping the line of text being read in the middle. So this way your eyes don't even need to travel up and down the page, and the text is sort of scrolled for the user automatically. And of course, you have a full screen mode where even reducing distractions even more. It also has all the things you would expect from any ebook reader, which is highlight, annotate, and the ability to export your annotations. So I know a lot of people they take notes as they're reading, and then in the end to do an export of all the notes and highlighted text, and that becomes a basis for either writing a report or the basis for reviewing before an exam. There's another reading mode for younger people, and that's called finger reading. So here you can use your finger just under the text, each word that you want to read out loud. So I'm kind of tapping.
My dear Mr. Bennett said his lady.
So what I just did there, I'm just running my finger under the text, and it detects the finger, and it reads along as I move my finger across the page. So this is to mimic how a parent will read to his or her child, that you are pointing at the words to your child, right? Saying, look, that I'm going to read it out loud, and at the same time I'm pointing at it. So maybe a slightly older child can do this themselves, and read this way. So that's a sort of a quick run through, and I'm just show you a PDF document. So this is a PDF document. You can read it in the original layout. And so this is a Harvard Business School case. In the Harvard Business School, this app I know is pretty widely used. Most students, when they start the program, they're given sort of a packet of things that can be helpful to them. And one of the things is go download VoiceStream Reader. And if you
In December 2010, Frank Sottasanti, Chief Marketing Officer.
So it also does highlighting right on top of original PDF. And finally, I wanted to show you how scanning works. So I can say tap add, say scanner, and so this is the scanner. So I'm just gonna I just got this this thing in the mail for my son from his high school. So I'm just going to take a picture of it. Notice that it's detecting the edges of the page,
Yeah, Winston, it disconnected the image. All we're seeing is the background on your desktop.
Okay.
We were seeing the tabletop until you lifted it and moved it away.
Okay, maybe it's just it's sort of Wi-Fi that got cut off. Right, let me try to connect again. Okay, so
There, that's back.
it's back. Okay, good. Okay, so it captured a picture here, and I say done, and now it's doing text recognition. So we found all this text on the page, and I say keep. Right. So then notice that the page is now at the bottom left of the screen. Now you can take more pictures and adding more to it. So let's say when you're done, you push save button here, and it gives you a title because it found the text on the page. So it suggests a title for you, and you say okay. And here we are. It's loaded into VoiceStream Reader as a PDF document. So if you open that you open the document and push play.
Friends of Arlington High School, dear parents and guardians. Friends of AHS was founded at the request of the AHS School Council in 2000 with the goal of financially supporting.
So I guess that's a brief introduction of the scanner, which is also a standalone app. And as a standalone app, it's more useful for people who are visually impaired because it's a tool for you to quickly read, a medicine bottle, record label, things, physical mail that can come into the mailbox and so on. But the feature is also integrated into VoiceStream Reader, as you just saw here. So it's very fast and very accurate, and it happens completely on device, so it does not go to the cloud at all. And the reason for adding this feature, besides being one of the most requested features, is that the newest artificial intelligence driven technology that recognizes text from images is just miles and miles ahead of anything that came before that. And this technology really became widely available around 2 years ago. And that was a time when I realized it's time to add scanning feature into VoiceStream Reader. When I first came across this sort of new text recognition technology, I was just blown away. Couldn't believe how good it was and how fast it was. So anyway, so that's it's a quick demo of VoiceStream Reader. And as I mentioned, VoiceStream Scanner is a standalone app, so you can use it by itself. So here you can configure that so that it starts reading out loud right after you capture it. So let's do the same document that we just did. Take a picture of that. Done. And
Friends of Arlington High School, dear parents and guardians. Friends of AH.
So without having to save that into any intermediary format, as in a PDF document. So this is helpful for people who are like I said, for people who are visually impaired. Another useful feature for this is something that's called scan tone. So what this does is that it looks at the field of vision of the camera, and it finds the text in that field of vision live in real time, and then plays a sound based on how much text is is visible. So so just sort of right now there's no text, right? But as I pointing at that, notice there's a lot of text in it, and it's doing that. But if I move away, right? So this is a way, if you're blind, you can use this to make sure that your camera is captured, it's got is on top of actual the whole document. And also there is a way to capture pages rapidly using what's called batch mode. So you can just keep on capture. So if you have lots of pages, you can do that very quickly. And by the way, the scanner, the scanner can produce accessible PDF. So so if you are taking pictures and scanning a bunch of printed pages, you can save it as a PDF document, and that PDF will contain it will be accessible. It will contain text information. So quickly, I'm going to go to do a quick demo of the VoiceStream Writer. So so as I said, it's a distraction-free writing environment that's got text-to-speech built in. So I'm just going to start typing.
This app will speak each word as I. This app will speak each word as I type,
So
period.
Notice, and also at the end of a sentence, it speaks out the whole sentence you type. Of course, all this stuff is configurable. So you can say speak word when typing, speak sentence when typing. And also it can proofread the entire document for you. So you put the cursor at the beginning, you press this play button, and it'll start reading the whole. Okay, I wonder why it's not working. Okay, all right. Well, there we go. And the other thing I want to show you is called Word Finder. So as you swipe to the right, the sidebar comes up. So here you can find the definitions of words.
Used of count nouns. Everyone considered individually. Each person is mortal. Each party is welcome.
You can also find words using phonetic search. So so this is not just a search based on how close the characters are to each other, but it's something that sounds the same. It'll also show up. Besides that, there's rhyming search, and sort of my favorite is searching by meaning. So let's say you want to find a word, but you know kind of the rough definition, but you've forgotten the word. So let's say you say, I'm thinking of a large cat. So notice that it pulls up lion, cougar, jaguar, puma. So and this is something that users who have dyslexia tell me that oftentimes they have trouble recalling a word when they're writing. So this feature is built to solve that problem. Finally, if you have a larger document like this one, there is something that is an outline that can help you organize your writing. So here, let's say these are the heading levels, and if I
Word Finder, new paragraph,
right, and also you can see each paragraph, and in fact you can even see each sentence. And at the section level, you can actually move things around to help you, see your writing as larger sections. So this is helpful for also for the visually impaired, so that it allows them to navigate a document that they're writing very fast. Let me go back to sharing the presentation. So I showed you scanner, reader, scanner, and writer. And a little bit about the future. So as I mentioned, a Mac OS version of VoiceStream Reader should be coming later this year. And the next natural Mac app is obviously the Writer. I think it's much better suited to be a Mac app than an iPad app. I also keeping an eye on the text-to-speech technology. There's a new sort of genre of text-to-speech voices that are about to emerge, and especially running on device. I want to make sure that all the users' data stay on device, and that's one of the requirements, that the app does not require connection to the internet in order to work. So on-device text-to-speech that are extremely high quality, indistinguishable from human narration. That's something I'm keeping a close eye on. And of course, when that becomes available, VoiceStream Reader will have that first. I want to expand support for other document formats. One document format that's emerging from a lot of libraries for the blind from around the world are narrated books that also have text, and the narration is synchronized with the text. Really, really exciting stuff. And I would like to, that's just one of the document formats that I would like to support in the future. And of course, always looking out for people who are using VoiceStream Reader in some unusual way. Support for speed reading is something that I added not too long ago, and then that's also something that I'm increasingly trying to advocate for. So that's it for my presentation. So thank you very much, and I suppose now I should go through the queue. So to have 10 minutes for Q&A.
Yeah, Winston, I've got a running list here of the questions that have come in, and there's some really great ones. Just before we head into those, you just mentioned the speed reading, and I wondered, I've been juggling a few balls behind the scenes here, and maybe I missed you demonstrating this, but I've heard it referred to as the Pac-Man feature. Is that
Yes.
part of the speed reading?
Yes. Like, I forgot about that. Let me, if you like, I can just do a quick demo.
I think that would be great if you could pull it up. It's something that I've heard a lot of students report back that it's beneficial. So
yeah. So are you seeing the iPad now?
Yes, it's back up.
Yeah. So this actually comes out of the research project that I was involved with at MIT. Because reading is so much is as much vision as is psychology. Your attention needs to be completely focused on the word that you're seeing. So the researcher, his name is Matthew Schneps, he came up with a way of reading that enabled him, who is a heavily dyslexic himself, able to read somewhere around 700-800 words a minute, which is about 3 times faster than sort of a typical neurotypical person would be able to read visually. Which, when you think about that, that's just like astounding. And the way he did this is by having the sound coming just before the visual. No, actually, the sound coming just after the visual. So you're taking 2 passes on the text. He wants your eyes to read the text first, and then a fraction of a second later, the sound comes. So this way, if your eyes miss something, then sound is going to come later to save you. So you have two passes on the text, and apparently when he does this, his comprehension is just as good, even though he's reading 3 times faster. So I'm just going to show that to you. Let's start here. So that is a visual. So cursor settings or Pac-Man mode. Okay, so I turn that on. So now notice that I'm going to start playing, but the text is going to start disappearing.
My dear Mr. Bennett, said his lady to him one day, have you heard that Netherfield Park is let at last? Mr. Bennett replied that he had not. But it is.
So the way that works is that by getting rid of the text, the Pac-Man that eats away at the word, right? It focuses your attention, forces you to keep your eyes moving forward and read visually moving forward. In fact, the text actually disappears before the sound comes, right? So it forces your eyes to move forward, and then the sound's going to come later, like I said before, to kind of fill in the blanks. So that's Pac-Man mode.
Okay, I appreciate that, and I can certainly see now why it would be beneficial to some of the people who've given me that report back. The innovation never is stopping here, Winston. And speaking of that, the other thing, I'm not sure if you're at a position in your development to show us any previews of what the Mac kind of desktop version would look like, or is it ready to be seen by the public?
I'm not sure.
Not to put you on the spot at all.
I would be happy to show you a snippet. In fact, I'm just pulling up Xcode now. To be honest, I don't know what shape it's in, but you might be able to see something that's recognizable. So one thing about the Mac is that it is, because of the size of the screen and because you can make the buttons smaller. On an iPad and iPhone, your finger is so big, you can't make the controls too small. Otherwise, you're going to make mistakes tapping the wrong control. But on the Mac, you can control your mouse with a cursor with a lot of precision. So all in all, it makes for a very productive environment. And that's the goal of the Mac app, is that it's being productive is really important. So I'm just gonna get rid of this and think I'm still sharing this screen. Do you guys see this Mac version now?
We see a file explorer.
Yeah, so it looks like File Explorer, but it's actually Voice Stream Reader. But I can use this view. So in some ways similar to the iPhone and iPad, but in other ways much more. A lot of stuff you can do at the same time. So there's a reading bar on top that shows you the current reading document. In fact, all your reading controls are here. You don't have to, so you can read auditorily without opening any document. For sort of your library management is all here. Folders management is all here. Accessing to a source like Bookshare is also right here. So from here, you can access New York Times bestsellers. Like I said, everything's fast, and everything you see a lot of controls on the screen so that you can do things very efficiently. So that's sort of the general idea behind the Mac app.
Okay, great. I appreciate that sharing that and putting you on the spot there, Winston, for us to be able to get a little sneak peek of what it'll look like.
Yeah.
And that so. I've got a running list of questions here from what's been added into the chat, so we'll head to those in a moment. Just before we do, I just encourage those in attendance today to definitely continue to add your questions into the chat if you haven't already, and as well, if you'd prefer to ask your question by voice, then please unmute your microphone. And once we see a unmuted microphone pop up in the list, then I'll head over to you as we're able. So there's a couple questions that even though that you may have answered them as we go through, I'll highlight them just so that we can make sure that we're getting the summary for everyone here, Winston. But to start off with, Sarah's asking regarding development for the Android, whether there is any development coming. And then Robin quickly asked for you to tell us what happened to the voice dream reader in the Play Store for Android, now that is now called Legier Reading, if I'm saying that correctly.
Yeah, so I sold the Android reader to another company, and this company is called Legary. And the reason for that is, the Android app has never been profitable. Has I don't know what it is about the Android world that maybe people generally don't like to pay for apps. I think that's probably why. Um, and not only that, has diverted a lot of my attention to something, and that really sort of isn't getting a lot of mileage. So I just decided to sell the Android apps and really focus on the Apple ecosystem. And I think that's it's a better way to spend my time.
Okay, great. Appreciate that. And the focus that you're putting into the Mac side and the Apple side is obviously showing through. So I'm curious though, taking that a step further, are there any plans for Windows development?
No, not in the near term. Um, and this, I guess, reflects on my view of Apple's position in the market, and particularly in education. That with the new Apple Silicon chips, the Macs have just leaped forward in front of any computing device, any desktop, laptop computing devices, in terms of cost, processing power per cost. I mean, right now for $800, you can buy a laptop that is as powerful as the most expensive laptop on Windows that you can buy. And that changes the market altogether. I think my focus on the Mac is in part due to this fact.
Just caution our Canadian viewers here today that is $800 American for a Mac. we don't have that luxury up here. Ours start at 1,000, 1,100. So for a Mac laptop. But all right. So moving along here, Michelle says, besides reviewing the user guides for each app, do you recommend any audio tutorials to learn the features of each app?
There are a bunch of YouTube videos, I believe, that are posted online. And this is, admittedly, by running a small operation, where I'm still doing majority of the development, and we're trying to keep this operation, small. Some of the stuff that I wish I have time to do, like doing a proper video tutorial of this, I have to just leave that for the user community. And unfortunately, though, especially in the visually impaired community, like a lot of users have stepped up and produced some really good content in terms of helping users to learn the apps.
Great, appreciate that. And I'm just noticing we're at the end of our hour. I'm happy to continue going here. Those of you who might have to leave for other obligations, who only scheduled yourself in for the 1 hour of the webinar, feel free to do so, and the recording will be posted afterwards, and a link sent out to those who registered. So if your question hasn't been answered, you'll be able to get the answer there. So. Okay, and just on that note, Winston, you mentioned there a moment ago that it's a very small team. Can you just let our audience know the number of people that are behind VoiceStream?
Just two. I am full-time working on development. I have another employee who works on, who answers customer emails, sort of do some of the administrative stuff, and anything I can outsource, I do outsource into things like, finance, accounting, legal, and I also have a few contractors who do sort of self-contained software development work for me. And this is a I guess I you know, this is a I mean, this is a, you know, these apps are products of love, and I feel like, you know, if something like this gets expanded and grows into something bigger than it needs to be, then it would no longer be sort of these objects of affection that I feel so strongly about. And fortunately, though, in this field of accessibility, you know, it's not necessary for me to have a big operation. Um, Marketing is completely driven by word of mouth. I don't do any marketing. You know, even these sessions here, you know, Doug reached out to me, so we don't have, you know, anyone sort of, you know, try to book me on webinars. So this is intentionally done, again, to keep the purpose of the company clear, and to make sure that, you know, customers always come first.
Exactly. Customers do always come first. When I introduced you and I said that you are VoiceStream, that's it shows through on many levels, in addition to what you just finished saying. And you're so responsive to feedback and changes from many sources I've heard that from. So we'll get to that in a few moments, I'm sure, here. But continuing on with the questions, I'm just still going through the chat. I haven't seen anybody unmute their microphone to ask questions live, but feel free to. Oh, Lyle did. So Lyle's quick on the draw there. We'll get Lyle to voice his question, and then we'll continue back through the chat with Doug.
Not so much for a question, but I just want to acknowledge, Winston, you know, I've been referring students to your app for years. As a testament, it's on page 1 of my iPad. So that's pretty high ranking to get on page 1 of an iPad. It's an amazing app. Thank you so much for producing it and for continuing to develop it. Cheers.
Thanks so much. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Lyle. And I see Andre is unmuted. We'll come back to Andre in just a moment. I want to get one of Doug's chat questions in here that he was going to ask, but found that since he's already has had VoiceStream Reader, when he went to the App Store just today to look at the bundled suite, it apparently it added the discount on the other tools, and he just wanted to pass that on. So I'm wondering if you could mention that or speak to that that pricing bundle there that in the App Store, Winston.
Yeah, the bundle. Assume you're referring to VoiceStream Suite, which is Reader, Writer, Scanner, and 2 voices together, and that's $29.99 US. So I'm not sure what's changed though. I think it's been like that for quite a while.
I think maybe what Doug is trying to say here, it seems like he's making an observation that that when you go in and you've already bought one app, it seems to put a discount on for you to buy the other apps.
That's right. Because it's a thing called completing the suite. So if you have one or more of the apps, it's quite inexpensive to get the rest.
Okay, great.
So basically will get the same discount as if you bought the suite.
Okay, perfect. So appreciate Doug for you sharing that piece of information. Makes more people want to be able to complete the suite there. And Doug also added just it's a great alternative to reading on a moving bus and avoiding motion sickness. So all right, and we'll just move back over to the voice questions from Andre.
Good evening, Winston. Thank you very much for a good presentation. And I must say, you have created a very lovely app. My question is just a quick question on your interface with Bookshare. VoiceStream is the best app to read Bookshare books with on iOS. My question is just if I browse books by category on Bookshare, so say now I go to a category like history, there is no search function then on VoiceStream when I'm browsing categories. So I have to literally scroll through hundreds and thousands of book titles to get the title I want. Now, I queried it with Bookshare, and then they said that you are using the old Bookshare API, and that maybe you can just talk to them and you can change your API with Bookshare. Do you have any answer on that for me?
Yes, actually I do. In fact, that is exactly what I'm working on right now. So as part of building the Mac reading app, I'm rewriting all the Bookshare access functions. So there will be more sophisticated search capabilities. That will support what's called reading list from Bookshare, as well as Bookshare assignments. Those are the two things that are supported. Newer features on Bookshare, and also collections. New York Times bestsellers, books recommended by reading grade, and so on. So all this stuff is should be coming. And as I said, the new features for the new Bookshare features will probably come out, I would say, in the next couple of months for the iOS apps. Just because I'm already doing that for the Mac, and those will be retroactively those will be made available for the iOS apps.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Andre, for bringing us that question. And I see Alexandru will come back in just a moment. I just want to pop into the chat for one more, alternate back and forth here. Maris has asked whether or not, if we have our own voice being digitized, whether we would be able to use that as one of the reading voices in VoiceStream.
No, not yet. Not yet. Although I have heard that request before. Somebody says, I love when my grandma reads for me. It would be wonderful to kind of have her voice always to be able to read for me. The technology is getting there. I know a couple of companies have already started making that into a service, sort of taking a person's voice and building a text-to-speech voice out of that. So I'm sure someday that'll be available.
Perfect. So I heard a not yet is the answer to that, Maris. One more thing for Winston's development list. Okay. And Alexandru, if go ahead with your question.
Hello, Winston. I'm Alex. I'm from Romania. I have two questions for you. Tell me why Voice Dream Writer is not available in Romania, and I'm curious that are you blind?
Yes. Well, I'm definitely not blind. I'm really just an average person, and have to spend a lot of time learning about all these different ways that people read. So as far as Winston Writer, so Winston Writer is right now only supports English, which is why it's not available outside of English-speaking countries.
Okay.
And the reason is that how it analyzes the text that you have written, that capability is only available in English. At least that's not. It's really hard to support lots of different languages. And the second thing is that the word search features that you saw, like reverse dictionary, you type in the definition of a word, it'll find the word for you. That is also only available in English, as well as the rhyming dictionary and all those things. So if it is available for another language, it will be a far less capable product.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for raising that question. And Caleb has entered into the chat a comment. The quality of text-to-speech voices has always been such a wonderful feature of VoiceStream. He often encourages students to use a different voice or accent for different subjects and readings, just to make a distinction between the materials. So another shout out to the quality of voices that you've included, as well as a tip from Caleb there. So
Thanks.
Thank you for that, Caleb. And Dr. Stern has just another tip for us here. Dyslexia, for those with dyslexia, spacing between the lines should be 1.5 times the size of the font. So that hopefully that would be will help some individuals. And Just keep checking to see if anybody else has their microphone unmuted as we continue through the chat questions. But Katie is asking that they've seen more publishers using EPUBs and is wondering if VoiceStream Reader is compatible with EPUB readers.
It reads EPUB documents. So yes, it's compatible with EPUB. But I'm not sure if compatibility with EPUB reader, what that means.
Okay, Katie, if you're still here and you're able to unmute or add into the chat any clarification on that, that would be great.
Hi there. I just meant EPUBs in general. Sorry, I didn't mean to confuse you.
Okay, got it. And
we've seen a lot of students purchase Kindles and iBooks, and so we have like a roundabout way to help them. But I was just curious to see what the compatibility was.
Yeah, I know that's an issue with. I mean, content is really an issue with Kindle and iBooks. All the books you purchase are copy protected, so they're essentially encrypted, and they cannot be opened and deciphered outside of the native apps. Although people online do have ways to break that encryption, so you could take a book we bought from Kindle and make it decrypt that and make it, and you can load that into VoiceStream Reader. But that's for people who are who are technically willing to do something like that. But for students, I mean, I'm not sure what its situation is in Canada. In the U.S., if a student has a diagnosis of dyslexia, then that student qualifies for Bookshare, and from Bookshare you can get just about any book you possibly want to read.
Okay, great. Thank you for the clarification there, Katie. And Alice had a question about the scanning option, giving a blind user information on how to orient to what is being scanned. And I think through your demonstration there of your scanning and the tone that the app was giving out as you lined up the document, I think that would be the answer to that question. Am I correct?
Well, yes, in a way, but also you can scan a page upside down, and it'll rotate it automatically. It automatically detects the orientation of the page.
Okay, so the tone that during scanning would help you ensure that the text was in frame, and then from there the app does the rest about straightening it and orienting it.
Right. So when, for example, so let's say you got a medicine bottle, right, and you don't know where the label is. So with the tone, you can sort of slowly rotate the bottle until you hear the tone. It's like, now I see the text, and then you snap a picture and have it read out loud.
Okay, perfect. All right. And I noticed while you were doing the demonstration of the Writer app that using the iPad keyboard, it had the microphone icon there for you to enable the dictation. Just double checking that voice dictation does work with the Writer app.
Yes, it does.
Okay, perfect. And Anne is asking if in VoiceStream Reader, will there be an option to edit more than just plain text documents in the future?
Probably not. And in fact, I kind of regret putting that feature in because it's editing and reading is really that's what VoiceStream Writer should be used for. And the reading tool should just focus on reading books and sort of documents that have been in a static way, and editing other formats like EPUBs, that's very specialized. That's a huge task and really should be left to specialized apps.
Great, thanks for answering and clarifying that. Alice is asking if you can talk about using Writer on an iPhone with VoiceOver, and do the writing options give enough space for writing on a phone?
It's interesting. So if with VoiceOver, you kind of, you don't really, when I just released the writer, I got an email from a blind user who said, who wrote excitedly. She was so happy and excited that he says, I just took a flight, and on my flight I put my headphones on, and he said I have my phone in my pocket, and then I have my hands on a Braille display, which has a Braille keyboard. And this is, I wrote, an entire blog post that way. So I think if you're a voiceover user, you're going to be using dictation rather than the tiny keyboard on the iPhone. And if you do that, I'm not sure how much you would actually need, how much screen real estate really matters.
Okay, all right. And Dr. Stern has asked if you can tell us how well the scanning and or the reader does with graphs and tables that are in documents.
Oh, yes, good question. The answer is not very well. With tables, it's basically just reads, one row at a time, and it won't find sort of where the columns are. And for graphs, if there's text on the graph, it'll read it. It's extremely good at finding text and recognizing the text, but non-text information it does not recognize.
Okay, all right. And Leslie is asking if there are any plans for graphic novels to have images from Bookshare.
Yes, right now you could see the images if you download from Bookshare and then switch to rich text. There's two modes. There's a plain text and rich text. But I also recognize that in some cases it doesn't work that well. So that's a feature, but that's a task that is on my to-do list. And yes, the future direction is to be able to support books with images as well as books that are just plain text.
And Anne had responded in part to that, the fact that Anne recently downloaded I Want My Hat Back by John Klassen, and noticed that the images from the book were downloaded as well. So I guess that would tie back to your comment there, Winston, regarding the viewing modes. So, okay. And just a reminder, as we're coming very close to the end of the chat questions, if there are any other questions that people have, please do enter them into the chat and or unmute the microphone, and we'll get to you by voice. Jillian has asked whether VoiceStream will offer network license options once Mac OS option is available.
Yes, although I have to admit that we have not done that before. That maybe Macs are different because it's far easier to load an app onto a Mac than it is to load an app on an iPhone if you don't go through the App Store. So with Macs, definitely easier, and it will be possible.
Okay. All right, and Doug is asking if you can talk about scanning PDFs. Didn't seem to give Doug one with tags, just an image when he tried. Wondering if there's something else that Doug needed to do.
So I assume that you're talking about scanning, taking a PDF that's a scan.
No, I was scanning something just to see if I scanned a document, if it would save to PDF and have tags, or would it just be an image that's PDF format? Is that, I didn't know. I thought you had said that it made an accessible PDF, or maybe you just made a PDF that's merely a scanned image in Adobe Acrobat.
No, it should have. When you scan something and say PDF document, and you have OCR, what that means, what happens is that you actually have two layers on each page. So you know the visible layer is the scan, but then underneath that, but invisible, is text. So so the way you can tell whether a PDF document that's a scan is accessible is that when you try to select the text. Let's say you open the PDF document up using Adobe Reader or Preview. You know, if it's accessible, you will be able to select the text. That makes
Yeah,
sense?
I was meaning the more fully accessible PDF where there's tags, so you can work your way through the tag structure.
Yeah, no, this OCR just doesn't, it doesn't give you that level of information.
Okay, all right. Thanks for the clarification.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Thanks, Doug. And we're basically at the end of the text or the chat based questions. So I do give people another opportunity here to unmute their microphones if they want to ask any questions by voice. And while we're giving a moment for that to happen, just to share that Dr. Stern is shared that Dr. Stern is neurotypical, and as well as their sister being blind, and they both are enjoying your apps, Winston. So more positive feedback from definitely two distinct, different types of support there that they would be realizing. And Jillian has, first of all, thanks you for your answer and the session, as well as making a comment here to put a call out if you want any institutions to pilot any of your products and that. So.
Yeah, I would assume that's about the Mac version. Yes, I would love that. I do plan to do a beta test before release, and anyone who's willing to be a beta tester, I'd be happily. So I would be happy about that.
Perfect. So maybe what we can do is, as part of the replay, we'll be having the recording, obviously, of the session today, as well as the slides from your PowerPoint presentation available for download. And then at the same time, we can put your contact information there, and Jillian and or others who want to could reach out for that and connect with you.
Yeah, you can reach out to me. My email address is Winston at voicestream.com.
Okay, voicedream.com.
Yes.
I just put that into the chat as well for people. So, and we'll make sure that goes on the replay page as well. So that's great. And thank you for bringing that up, Jillian, because I was going to bring that something similar up there as well. And just a final request, if anybody wants to unmute their microphones, because we are finished going through the questions in the chat. And there's lots of people commenting in there about the great app, and thanks for building it, and appreciate comments of appreciation. I'm curious if there's anybody that's left with us here that hasn't already hinted at it in their questioning, as to whether there's any features or abilities that they would like like Winston to be able to put in. Or if there's any improvements that they would like seen with existing features, if they're can funnel those back through. I'm sure Winston would love to hear some feedback there, as well as to be able to get more things on his to-do list for features people would like to see.
Yes, please email me.
Yeah. And the big question is, what can Winston develop next? And my answer to that question is the Windows version, because you've got such a fantastic suite of apps that unfortunately are limited only to those with the Mac system in their lives. And I feel those Windows users on that I support, as well as myself, I feel that we're cheated out of one of the great things in life. So
yeah, I hear you.
Yeah. So thank you, Alice, for including in the chat here to include reading math and STEM content. So there's a big to do for you, Winston.
Yes, extremely difficult. Where I know there's a few research projects going on in that field, but I as far as I know, and maybe it's been a while since I checked into it, as far as I know, nothing solid yet. Nothing that can be built into a commercial product yet, but we'll get there.
Okay. All right. So another not yet, but it's coming. All right. Okay, so just a final call if anybody wants to quickly unmute their microphone and join in, or add any final thoughts into the chat just as we wrap up. And I'm just going to go back to a screen share here for us as we're getting ready to finish off the session here. And
Hi, Doug. It's Maris.
yes, Maris, go ahead.
The curiosity is about that speed reading. Is there more research on what you used for that?
Yeah, there is a if you search for Matthew Schnepp's speed reading, Scientific America, you should find that a piece that he wrote. I mean, he has a paper on it, but that piece that he wrote for Scientific America describes that research project in some detail.
Perfect. And Jillian was just very kind to put a link to that article
in
the chat. So thank you, Jillian. I'd say send me the bill for your help here, but I'm afraid. So thank you for doing that. So, all right. And any other final thoughts, questions, comments from anyone as we finish off here? All right, not seeing anybody unmuting their microphones or anything else coming through the chat window here. So at this point, I've taken back the screen share and we're just gonna kind of wrap up here. So so as we do that, Winston, I can't say enough thank you to you and appreciation for joining us today and sharing your babies with us. And your children and your wife might have something to say about that, but I'd say that these are definitely your babies, and you have shown them the care and love that that a parent would show to their children. And so it shows through as you've hopefully been able to hear from a lot of your users and those who recommend and train on your products that are here with us today. So as us as assistive technology professionals, we're always wanting to add new tools to our toolboxes. And I think today, for those of you who with us that are not aware of these 3 apps and the suite of the voice dream apps, as well as the upcoming developments and new products, if you weren't aware of them, you are now. Add them to your toolbox. For those who are aware of them, please add some more detail in there about some of the features that you've discovered today and some of the little tips and tricks that we've uncovered here. So yeah, it's again, thank you, Winston, for sharing. Is there any final comments or thoughts from your end?
I just want to say thanks. Thanks to everybody for your kind words, and thanks for thanks for spreading the word. And this is really why you are the people. You're the reasons why voice stream exists and that it can exist in this form, because you're putting the words out there, and so this way I don't need to think about marketing and sales, and I can focus on the products. So thank you.
So I think you've definitely convinced over 50 people that joined us live today to become the voice of your sales and marketing team, and to continue doing that part of the job for you. So we're counting on you to continue with supporting the fantastic products that you've got out there for us, Winston, and your support of the assistive technology profession, as well as being here today to support the network of assistive technologists. It's greatly appreciated. I do ask that you keep in touch, and us keeping in touch with you as well. We look forward to continuing our relationship, seeing what you have in development, and maybe bringing you back to show us some more details about that Mac version once it's out there. So
yeah, I would love to. I would love that.
Yeah. And actually, Alice is asking just in the chat here, just snuck this last one in there. Alice is, how can we keep up with new developments? So is there a place they can go where you post the new developments, or a newsletter that they can subscribe to?
I do send out emails now and then. So I think on voicestream.com, you can just make sure there's a place to sign up for sort of email newsletter, I think.
Okay, perfect. So that would be,
Yeah, I take that back. No, there isn't. I realized there was too much spam coming through that. But just send an email to me and I'll add you to the list.
okay, perfect. All right, thanks for that, Winston. And Lyle is just added his thanks, and he's curious what is in the magical room behind you.
This is I'm not sure which room. This is my home office. This is our house.
I
So
think he's meaning the magical little cabinet behind you. I think that's what Lyle is.
yeah, but that little cabinet, that one has my son's Lego.
Yeah, as he says, the small door to the fourth dimension. I know Lyle, and I was going to say he's probably just jealous, Winston, because it's bigger than his office. So, all right, thanks for helping us end on a lively, humorous note there, Lyle, and as the rest of us, we all head out into that fourth dimension, or what seems like it, with all of the uncertainty and such in the world. Again, Winston, thank you so much for being with us here today. I hope that we can have you back. And lastly, for everyone here today, thanks for joining us. And remember, you can't spell education without AT. So until next time, take care and stay safe.